This is an impromptu video this week because I was going around our apartment, and although in general now I believe that I've done the majority of my decluttering, I felt like there were a few things adding up. So I decided to actually pay closer attention to actually what was coming in and out each month. I also wanted to use this point in the video to also mention that whilst I am now balancing how much extreme minimalist content I do make, it is an evergreen subject here on my channel, as is decluttering, because we are at the end of the day talking about minimalism. And although I do want to focus a little bit on sustainability and zero waste and simple living, there is going to be occasionally an evergreen video like a decluttering video, like an extreme minimalist video, because I want to just balance the amount that I did it. After we mentioned it in a previous couple of videos, I got feedback from you guys, and the majority of you requested that I still do the odd bit of content like that. So that is what we're going to do. We're going to balance that. We're just not going to overdo it, do it too much. So let's begin with some things that I have largely been considering decluttering, and it's actually more than I realised. We're going to need this table out of the way. So a while back I actually went on a kitchen rampage, getting rid of sort of all the kitchen storage jars. But I got to thinking the other day, and I believed there were still some jars that I didn't need. Now these are obviously not yet clean because it's something I've only recently decided upon. Let me move the camera angle down. So when I recently did a huge declutter, sort of cleaning out the whole kitchen, I discussed how couldn't resist it, sorry guys. I discussed how the main things that I knew that we kept were pasta, rice, flour, and then in one of these I had birdseed, in one of these I had Charlie, who is the little dog that I look after, his treats. Now don't worry, the birds aren't going without seeds and Charlie isn't going without little doggy treats, but I've just changed how I've decided to keep them, which means I really don't need these 5 things. And what I also realised after doing this huge sort of August audit was that the majority of the time we do eat fresh, and we sort of decide within a 3-day period what we're going to eat over the following days. So because I live in a town centre, I can take advantage of that fact, and I don't need to keep loads of dried pasta in, loads of rice. Now this may change very much so one day when I have my cabin in the woods, and in fact we may actually have huge kind of zero waste storage jars, but they would need to be much bigger than that. So these are pointless. I don't plan on taking them with me anywhere. We really do eat on a couple of days ahead basis, and we really don't need much storage of food in our cupboards because we are eating fresh. So these are all going, where shall we put them? Let's put them here for now, whilst I bring you the next things. Now I didn't think that I was guilty of this one, but very occasionally I find something lurking in the back of my cupboard that has gone out of date. I think I've had this in my cupboard about 5 years because it does have a very long date, but it's the long date things that you have to watch because ever so quickly time will creep up on us and stuff goes out of date. So I have some Angostura bitters. I think that I didn't even drink. It was for like cocktails one day when we had a party, and it's never got used because we don't really drink that obviously on a regular basis. So food items or drink items can obviously also go out of date. I've got a couple more things coming, but at the end I'm actually also going to share something that I've changed my mind about as an extreme minimalist. I do very occasionally, to do with the odd thing, flip back and forth with what I feel about things, and the thing coming at the end is one of them. But let me get the other stuff first. This is just a little one, but this aptly named tea spoon, tongs, whatever we're calling them. I really knew that when I saw it, I didn't need it. A teaspoon can do the job, but the reason why I was tempted to get this is that with our bin being very small and at the side of our fridge, it's quite difficult to hold your teacup, squeeze your tea bag out and put it in the bin all at the same time. And even though it's a pedal bin, because of where it is, it flips up too fast, stuff goes everywhere. So I often find myself needing to open our bin by hand and put the tea bag in. But if the tea bag isn't squeezed out enough, the tea drips all over the floor. So I thought this was the perfect remedy. It turned out not to be. It still drips anyway. So it's sort of pointless me having it. So charity shop with this lot. Next thing. This one is quite a big one. In fact, maybe this is bigger than the other thing, but I'll tell you it anyway. These are the curtains from the bedroom, and they are going. And why? Am I all of a sudden going to start just sleeping with an eye mask on? Not quite, although that is a good idea perhaps for people that don't have projectors, that really don't want curtains. But that's not what I've done. I basically moved the curtains that are behind you guys in our living room to the bedroom because they were a bit longer. These ones are shorter, so I decided these are going to go because I have got a new solution for my living room windows. But the new solution hasn't cost me a thing. It looks very nice. It's going to be in a video coming quite soon, but basically I have sort of done a full turnaround with curtains. I think I will always still love textiles and fabrics. I think they do create coziness in a home that is very minimal, but you might not always want coziness if you're really wanting this idea of space, which I don't think is as easily achieved in a home as small as ours, only 32 square meters, and this room is only sort of 4 by 4.5 meters. So having curtains really steals that last bit of space, but getting rid of them and having what we've got instead now is definitely a better solution that makes it look more minimal and more spacious. But I want that to have a video all of its own, so that's not being featured in this video. But what is going is, so they're going. Now, although I'm not going to waste these products, and I do really like them, like I've mentioned before, I as a minimalist like to try out different products. Perhaps it's because it's the one thing that we perhaps still do buy. I've enjoyed that moisturiser. It was 3-in-1 as a mask, a primer and a moisturiser, but it has nearly run out. I do like to use a tinted SPF moisturiser just to give me a little bit of colour as somebody who is very pale and that has skin issues as well, so I definitely need SPF. Those things, what I'm choosing is to do a 2 out, 1 in at the end of this month when they've been used up, is I'm going to use this instead. I have used this in the past. This isn't the thing that I was going to show you, but I will talk about this more on an upcoming YouTube short. But it is basically a tinted oil. It's such an interesting product. It's completely sustainable, 100% natural, just made from nuts and plants. It comes in glass, it comes in wood. This isn't sponsored, it's just a product that I really like, and it moisturizes your skin because obviously it's an oil, but at the same time adds a little bit of a tan and a glow that looks really even and not streaky and doesn't come off on stuff. So if I have that, which is really the only reason that I wear a bit of tinted moisturiser or coverage you might say on my face, it's nothing to do with my complexion, it is sheerly to do with dryness and also being so pale. So that for me fits those tasks. And then obviously the only thing I need on top of that in the summer, but definitely not in the winter in the UK, is SPF, because there is no SPF in that. But yeah, we basically don't even get enough sun in the winter to have to worry about that at all. So they're out, they're what's in place of it. And finally, the big thing that I was saving to show you all, if I don't use a tinted moisturiser, I don't really need an application brush. Oil goes on just with my hands, and this is the thing that, to be honest, even if I wasn't getting rid of this, and even if I get another in the future, I'm torn. I am torn about this, because As somebody with very sensitive skin, although I enjoy the feeling of putting the moisturiser on with a brush, the tinted moisturiser, so that I don't get it on my hands, I sometimes wonder whether the bristles do actually irritate my face. So I am going to try going without this for a month and see whether my skin feels less irritated, although it has already from drinking more water the past month. But I really want to see whether this is an irritation trigger on its own, and if so, it will be leaving permanently. And I will just have to remember, if I ever go back to that, to wash my hands immediately afterwards, because what I do seem to do is touch things like white curtains immediately after putting it on and get the stuff everywhere. So that's why I always did have that, but I think it's time to let it go. So that is everything that is sort of going this month. But what has come in? Obviously that's come in replace of those, but what else? I will show you. Well, as somebody that really enjoys aromas, I used to always burn incense burners because they are actually made out of natural substances such as flower, wood and essential oils. But as somebody that has mild allergens, I stopped using them because in such a small home, the whole big long sticks that you normally get, and even the incense cones because they're sort of thick, was a little bit too much. However, I am going to try this. It wasn't expensive, it's a little mini incense plate, and what I love is that the incense burners themselves are very, very small. I think they only burn for about 2 to 5 minutes. And as I've been talking about grounding a lot in some recent videos, it's the perfect almost timer to time yourself in a non-timing kind of way, to light one of those, set it on the floor, do some stretching, do some grounding, take in the aromas, and then you know by the time that that's burnt down, around 2 to 5 minutes has passed, and you've just taken a minute out of your day or so, or a couple of minutes, to ground yourself. And the tiny bit of smoke that this is giving off, because it's smaller, I don't believe is enough to sort of set my allergens off or anything, and I'm doing it in a ventilated room with windows open. So having a smaller incense stick in a smaller home is much more appropriate. So I am going to try this for a while. We'll see whether it works out. I definitely wouldn't be doing it in the winter when all the windows have to be closed. And what I also do enjoy about having plants still as a minimalist, they do even help to clear your air of smoke. But as this is made of natural substances, it's not actually giving off anything like formaldehyde, like fragrance candles do, for instance. It's whether you are somebody that actually suffers from allergens from the sheer smoke that it is giving off. So I'm going to set that over here. That was Lang Lang for today. But this is my kind of in and out pile for the month. 2 things in, these are all going. 3 things with the solution that we've got behind there, and this and that. But how many things have we got that are going? 11 things as a in and out, everything that I'm getting rid of this month, everything that I am decluttering this month. So I hope you're all still enjoying this kind of evergreen bit of content. I've got quite a few videos planned up until about October, November. I am going away at the end of September. I've got videos to cover that period of having a break just from making content before I make the second channel, or I start the second channel, but there will still be videos that I've made ahead of time. But we're still going to do some of this evergreen content for everybody, and then I do also plan to start helping decluttering other people's homes as well. So there will be a little bit of more decluttering content for those people that like it. See you all in the next one. Bye!